Patrick Mahomes. First drive of the game for KC, and Mahomes' pass is tipped at the line, picked off by Byron Jones, and he fumbles at the end of the play, but the Dolphins do recover. Only the third interception of the year for Mahomes, but it would not be his last in this game. Under pressure here. Not an interception, but a huge loss inside the 5-yard line. Loses 30 yards on that sack, and then this one is picked off by Eric Rowe. 2 picks in the first quarter for Mahomes. The Dolphins would take a 10-0 lead, but then Mahomes like, yo, we are down, but we are far from over. Travis Kelce, he's open. We say that a lot. Chiefs would end up taking a 14 lead at the half, third quarter. Dolphins with the punt. So McCole Hardman. And he had a lane, he had blockers, and he had all the speed. 67-yard touchdown as the Chiefs roll off 28 unanswered points. It would actually be 30 unanswered by the time we pick up with Tua right here. Looking for Mike Gesicki. Into traffic, didn't matter. Second touchdown of the game for Gesicki, so the Dolphins now trail at 30-17. Tua not done. Sneaks it in from a yard away. It's now a 30-24 game. Chiefs ensuing possession. It's 4th and 1, and they go for it. And Mahomes to Tyreek Hill. Chiefs would win it 33-27. They clinch the AFC West title. Here's Jeff Darlington from South Beach.
Well, the Chiefs had one of those days on Sunday that reminds us of 2 things. Number 1, it isn't always easy for Kansas City. And number 2, even on their mediocre days, they're so very hard to beat. On a day that started with a first quarter that saw Patrick Mahomes throw 2 interceptions, had 1 fumble, and also took a 30-yard sack, it ended with the Chiefs holding off these feisty Dolphins.
You get angry. You don't want to turn the ball over and put your defense in that situation. At the same time, I have the ultimate confidence in the guys around me that we're going to keep battling and find ways to win football games. And kind of like I said, our defense kept us in the game. They kept getting stopped whenever they were just on the field. It seemed like the entire first quarter. And then all of a sudden we were leading at halftime. And I feel like this team plays better when their back's up against the wall, and that's a good thing to have about a football team.
We had a few tip balls. That always, you're trying to avoid that. But at the same time, it's football. Guys are going to get their hands in the passing lane here and there. And the biggest thing is how are we gonna handle that, And I think Pat does it better than anybody in the league. Is when adversity hits, his level of play goes up.
We got to finish on both sides of the ball. Make sure we take care of business there. Not a lot of yards, but we've got to take care of the ball. Too many turnovers, and can't do that against good football teams.
Perhaps the Dolphins could have better benefited from the Chiefs' miscues if they weren't so injury depleted on offense. Regardless, Mahomes still had 393 yards, and the Chiefs locked up the AFC West. Now they can spend the rest of their regular season focusing on locking up that ever-important number 1 seed. In Miami Gardens, Jeff Darlington, ESPN.
All right, look, I know we've been hyping up this Chiefs offense for a while now, but I still feel as if some of y'all don't quite understand what KC's been doing. I think this should help. Over the last 2 seasons, including the playoffs, KC has 8 wins when trailing by double digits. That's the most in the league. They've scored 20 or more unanswered points in a game 12 times. That's tied for the most. And number 15 has only thrown multiple picks in a game twice. Today and Super Bowl 54. And oh yeah, they won both of those games. But here's the deal. Speaking of the Super Bowl, Mahomes remembering that his 2 worst games in the last 2 seasons have come down in Miami, yet he's 2-0 at that stadium. He went to Twitter and said, I have a love-hate relationship with Hard Rock Stadium. As long as you win, you can love it and hate it all you want to. Tim, let me start with you. The Chiefs won this game despite committing 4 turnovers, including 3 picks from Patrick Mahomes. How did Kansas City's defense help them win this game?
Well, listen, they played complementary football, and the mark of a good team is when, one phase of your team is not playing well, the other group steps it up. And that's what happened. We saw the special team score. Obviously, that helps when your offense turns it over 4 times. But defensively, Steve Spagnuolo has that group getting better, which is kind of what he's done throughout his career. They maybe start slow defensively, but they get it going. It's a split zone run by Miami here. Offensive line working the left. The tight end's going to dig out to the right. The back wants to cut it back to the right, but Chris Jones gets so much penetration early that the back has to try to bounce it outside, and then there's Mike Dana for the tackle for loss. Then on a 3rd and 5 here, they're going to run some type of mesh concept, try to get a pick with zone coverage, and then Frank Clark wins right away. So this ball comes out early from Tua, and basically the route doesn't develop yet. Matt Collins probably would have had an opportunity there, but the ball had to be out. And then in a known passing situation, it can't always be Chris Jones or Frank Clark. This time it's Deshaun Wharton who gets to Tua. And so you just look at this defense. We saw an interception from Tyrann Mathieu earlier in the football game. They came to play. They really did. And I think that if this team can get that type of effort and that kind of disruption defensively to go with that offense you were just talking about, Michael, then we, different than the AFC, the NFC, we know who the best team in the AFC is.
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting to the playoffs and see how those matchups play out. Rob, let's talk about Miami, though. And again, despite the loss, because this wasn't a season where people were expecting a lot of things from this Dolphins squad, you have been impressed, though, with the improvements that Miami's made from last season to this season, especially on defense. What did they show you today against this high-powered Chiefs offense?
Well, anytime you can have Pat Mahomes throw 3 interceptions, more interceptions than touchdown passes, you're doing something great. So, you know, when I look at what Josh Boyer had to come in and take over for the worst-ranked defense last year and the amount of takeaways, I mean, they were playing this game without Kyle Van Noy, Landon Roberts, 2 of their leaders on defense. So for them to go out there and cause Kansas City some trouble, they have come a long way from last year to this year. So hats off to Miami. I mean, I know it's tough to lose any football game, but you have to come away with this saying, look, we had 3 turnovers against Kansas City, one of the best teams that takes care of the football. Pat Mahomes does not throw multiple interceptions. So when you can do that, you have to feel positive about where you're heading. So if they can continue to improve and get some health back, Kyle Van Noy get back, Landon Roberts come back, they'll be even better. So they got to focus on a big game coming up against New England this week.
Yeah, no moral victories in the NFL, but they'll probably feel a little bit better following this loss than some of the other ones they've had so far here in 2020. All right, let's keep it, Tevin. And more importantly, his team got the win over 10-2 Saints squad and just giving even more confidence to the decision that Doug Peterson made to replace Carson Wentz as the starter with the rookie Jalen Hurts. New on SportsCenter, Doug Peterson talking about the debut of his rookie quarterback.
Hey, Doug, what did you think of Jalen's overall performance, and why do you think he was able to get the whole team, start to finish, to play better? And are you ready to commit to him for next week yet?
We went into this week, there's been a lot of stuff's been piled on this football team all season, negatively, positively, a lot of injuries, different things have really piled up, and sometimes you look for an opportunity to just sort of jumpstart things, right? Kind of almost reset a little bit, and you do things, and obviously Jalen got the start tonight or this afternoon, and I thought overall there were some good things, and really kind of gave us a spark as a team that I was looking for, and I think we were looking for as a team. But this win today is not about one guy. This win is about this team and how resilient this team is, and we went through it again today. Injuries, and piled up a little bit in the second half, and guys stayed strong. He obviously was a part of the win, but my hat's off to a lot of guys. In this football game, defense I thought played outstanding. With the 2 takeaways, Sweat, Hargrave. I mean, guys are battling their tails off, and offensive line against this is the #1 defense in the National Football League, and they did a nice job. They did a really nice job against that front. And, my hat's off to really every member of this team.